Yeah, Kyle Shanahan was speaking before the game. He was an announcer. I've never heard him do it before, and he was pretty good. I don't know. Maybe he'd be better as an announcer than as a coach. They asked him, what's the key to scoring against Seattle, and he first gave like a self-deprecating answer, which I love. He's like, "Look, man. I mean, I don't know if I'm the right guy to ask because I haven't scored a touchdown on these guys in 2 games, but what they do is they play their safety so deep, they don't give up big plays through the air that you really have to run the ball. And we were able to do that in the first game. We weren't able to do it in the next two. Actually, if you look back, they haven't been able to run the ball on the Seahawks in years. They always do a good job against Christian McCaffrey. So he's saying, the counter is run the ball better, which is crazy. Like you'd think a genius would have something a little bit more less basic. I mean, yeah, obviously, if you can run the ball against defense, you're going to do well. That's all they've got. So it seems to me, Dad, how do they run the ball better against Seattle?
Okay, first of all, it is basic, but it's a fair thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
If you can run the ball, it opens everything up on offense. We know that. The issue is he knows you need to run the ball better, but he's not willing to do what he needs to do to run the ball better. So his
Mm-hmm.
mind is divided. He knows what he needs to do. He needs to get
Yeah.
an offensive line. He doesn't have, he has his offensive line, Iggy, we would rate in the C range
Yes.
or D or maybe a
Yeah.
C range. So
Yeah.
it's you know it it's passing. It's a passable grade, but it's not really good.
They didn't really have a left guard this year. Their center is nothing special. Their right guard's pretty good. Their right tackle's pretty good. And their left tackle's 38.
Yeah, and okay, so that's one component. And the other is, look, McCaffrey won comeback player of the year. He's a Stanford guy. I'm all in with him. And you like him.
Mm-hmm.
He's decent with you.
Mm-hmm.
Iggy, I've said this before. He's not adequate as your go-to running back. Christian, I'm sorry. Um, age comes for everybody. Even if he had a better offensive line, Iggy, I don't think he's the guy they need. They need to have another guy to split the carries with him or to have more carries than he does. He's more of a gadget player now, coming out of the backfield and catching passes. If you're going to run against Seattle and beat them, you need a running game. And Kyle understands it, but isn't willing to do what he needs to do to get the running game.
Well, he has to improve the offensive line, but it's also fair to wonder whether he needs to improve the running back as well. I mean, Christian is at the age where running backs fall off, and this is a great defense he's going against. And really, for the last 3 years, 4 years, when Kyle's been at his best, his offense has just been give the ball to Christian. Am I wrong? That's what
Everything.
Kyle does. He
Yeah,
gives the ball to Christian as much as he freaking can.
yeah, and it's really not fair to Christian, and it's not fair to the team. There needs to be another weapon and more creativity. For a creative offensive mind, he's sort of single-minded. He's running
And
this kid to death.
yeah. And it can work when they face the Arizona Cardinals or some team that isn't good. But the team they got to worry about and find ways to take down is Seattle. And you've had this Mike McDonald defense there for a couple years. And these are the last 4 meetings the Niners have had against Seattle. Christian McCaffrey, who's the offense, the one guy you got to shut down in those 4 games. So 3 this year and the last one in 2024, 60 carries for 206 yards. That's 3.4 per attempt. 24 catches for 173 yards. So that's not even 400 yards in 4 games total. That's 379 yards from scrimmage in 4 games and no touchdowns. So what the Seahawks are doing is shutting down Christian McCaffrey, which essentially is shutting down the Niners offense. So Kyle, you want to evolve? It seems like you need to have a new focal point of your offense, and it's not going to be Debo. It's not going to be George Kittle. I don't know if it can be Ricky Pearsall. He's a really good complementary player, but you need a new go-to guy in your offense.
And Iggy, you're talking about shutting down. What it also means is McDonald is shutting down Kyle.
Correct.
He's beating him. They go against each other. He calls the defense. Kyle calls the offense. He owns Kyle. If I were Kyle, I wouldn't want to be owned. I wouldn't want him to be my daddy. I'd want to beat him.
That's
And
Kyle's
I
daddy right
would,
now.
and Iggy, I would do everything in my power to beat him. I would be brutally honest with myself. I would say, sure, I'll keep Christian, but I have to have another guy who can share the load or take more of it because otherwise I'm playing into Seattle's hands. You
Yeah.
have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah. So why are the Rams having success against the Seahawks defense and you're not, Kyle? Well, the Rams have two running backs, not just one. They're both in their mid-20s and they're fresh, unlike your guy who you've worn into the ground the last 3 years. They have a much better offensive line than you, and they have, all these weapons on the outside that the Seahawks actually respect. So there are those things.
Iggy, the Rams are behind Seattle, but if they were to play them a game, you could make a case that the Rams would beat them. The Rams are a
Every
good
time they
team.
play each other, it goes down to the very end. It feels like the
Yeah.
Seahawks are a little bit better than the Rams.
But you can't make a case that the Niners are going to beat the Seahawks.
Mm-mm.
You can't,
No.
and which means that really, if you look at the NFC West, there are two teams at the top, two elite teams, Iggy, and the Niners are in a middle ground, and then Arizona is in purgatory or hell or whatever. But the Niners are not near those two teams. Not one, two teams. They're in a different echelon.
There's one more thing I want to say. His strategy, like how he needs to update his attack to actually be effective against the Seahawks. It's not just that the Seahawks have those two great wide receivers. Yeah, Puka's great, and Devontae Adams is good when he's healthy. But what the Rams were most effective doing this year was playing with three tight ends on the field. Matthew Stafford's numbers when three tight ends were on the field was off the charts. And the Seahawks want to run like a nickel defense with, three safeties out there. They don't really want to play a big defense. They want to be fast. And so the Rams are counter that by being as big as possible on offense. So Kyle, you need a new running back, obviously. You need some new offensive linemen, obviously. The use check thing isn't confusing Seattle anymore. Having the fullback on the field, it's not helping your running game. It's not helping your passing game. You need to get new tight ends. You need to get a lot of tight ends. That's what's working for the Rams. You need to copy Sean McVay.
I have a question about Shanahan, a little off the point. You said I don't listen. I watch the game, but I don't listen to that stuff. I turn the sound off. That he was chatting, and you said he was articulate. Did he say a lot?
I'd have to go back and listen. That'd be interesting. I wonder if he finally got coached up on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to think of him as being whimsical, funny, self-deprecating, and speaking in complete sentences without leaning on a lot. And I was just curious because, as I say, I watched the game yesterday. I didn't watch any of the pregame stuff. I had enough of that. And plus, it's not what you do when you're in the press box, and that's how I learned. And I only put on the sound when there's a penalty or a strange play, because when these guys talk, they get in my way. You know how quiet it is. It's like a library in the press box.
Yeah.
There's no announcers or anything like that.
Well, what kills me about what Kyle Shanahan said, like the key to beating the Seahawks, is he went straight to what his offense has to do, like an
Right.
offensive coordinator. And he said, like we were able to do it in week 1, and that's why we won. No, you weren't. You didn't run the ball well against the Seahawks in week 1. You scored 17 points in that game. You won week 1 because your defense was dominant. And on the final possession, the Seahawks had the ball, and they were driving down the field, and they were in the red zone, and Nick Bosa took the ball away from Sam Darnold. Checkmate.